Okay, so there's a lot of debate going on around credit cards, credit score, debt, and whether or not it's acceptable to be using these things. So today I'm going to talk about how I use my credit cards to gain money back each month and maximize the money that's in my pocket. My overall and unprofessional opinion is that credit cards can be a powerful tool to maximize your own spending money if and only if you take advantage of the systems they have and not be irresponsible. This is not financial advice. This is just something I've used to get between $700 and $1,000 more per year in spending money. It's also not a critique of the current system because there's plenty of problems and imperfection with the FICO score and credit score and just building credit in general. But we're playing the game as is because that's what we do on this channel. We take a look at the game, look at the pieces, how it stands, and then look at the moves that we can make to maximize our situation. Today I'll be sharing my credit card strategy, why it works for me and my situation, who it can work for, and just benefits and drawbacks of credit cards. First, I'd like to start off with who should not be using credit cards or debt. First and most importantly, you do not touch credit cards unless you can make the payment comfortably on time every single month in full, no exceptions. The full payment, not the minimum payment, not half of the payment, the full payment. Because if you fail to do this, you're going to be paying a crazy interest rate, and credit card debt will ruin a man, hurt your credit history, make everything more expensive for you in the future. Also, you'll get charged fees and just more. So don't do that. If you don't have self-control or discipline or just aren't in the financial situation to be taking on small amounts of debt, you shouldn't even give yourself the option to be irresponsible. Stick with debit cards, stick with cash. If you struggle with overspending or you have an unstable income or no emergency fund, a history of debt issues, or other high interest debt that you have to pay off, figure that out first before getting into this. Okay, so I just want to give a quick summary on credit card basics in a minute or two. If you don't understand these credit terms, you got to learn this first, and I'll summarize it here in a few minutes. So a credit card just basically allows you to borrow money up to a limit set to just make purchases. So you go to a store, you pay with the card, you're technically getting a loan from the bank on that money. You're required to pay it at least the minimum amount each month, and if you don't pay the full balance, you'll accrue interest on the remaining amount. So your credit limit is the maximum amount of credit you can borrow. The balance is how much you owe on the card. The APR is the annual percentage rate, and it's just the yearly interest rate charged on unpaid balances, which can be very high, like 20% plus. The minimum payment, the smallest amount you must pay to avoid penalties. A statement, which is just a monthly summary of your charges, payments, and balance. A grace period, which is the time between the end of a billing cycle and the due date to pay off without, incurring interest. A late fee, just a fee for missing a payment. And a credit score, which is a number indicating your credit worthiness impacted by your credit card usage and your history with borrowing money. If you're unsure about some of these terms, you might be paying more than you expect. Also, a couple more I'd like to throw in. An annual fee is you can pay a yearly fee to be a holder of that credit card. And I know, whylearn, that sounds crazy. A yearly fee just to own a credit card? First, I'm going to get into why this actually makes sense for many of us, especially for me in my current situation with traveling. And this is due to something called a cashback policy, which means you get a small percentage of your purchase awarded in points that you can then redeem for cash or other benefits. Just another quick note, you do need to apply for each credit card, and this does take a short-term hit on your credit score, which is called a hard credit inquiry. And this lowers because it's also seen as risky behavior, in quotes, to be seeking credit. And it's just a small part of your FICO score, only about 10%. It's a trade-off, and then your credit score will go up again with an increase in just being responsible and using it responsibly. So here's my credit card strategy. I've had a total of 2 credit cards in my life, and I'm considering a third. But before that, I basically just used my debit card. And this video is not endorsed by Chase, although that would be pretty cool. But I have used the Chase Freedom Unlimited and the Chase Sapphire Preferred for my situation to get at least $1,000 per year back in my pocket. So the Chase Freedom Unlimited was a great choice to learn about credit cards and cash back because it's very simple. There's no annual fee, and anytime I swipe, I get 1.5% cash back. If I buy something for $100, I get $1.50 back in points. So compared to a debit card, I save 1.5% per year. This makes a difference if you spend, let's say, $4,000 a month, 48 grand per year. That's $720 extra that you'd have instead of using a debit card. Now here's my next one, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and this card cost me $95 per year to own, but it has huge benefits. First of all, if you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months of having the card, which, let's be honest, most of us spend more than $1,400 per month anyways, you get a $600 bonus. And on top of that, instead of 1.5% cash back, it's multiplied greatly. Plus a lot of other travel benefits like, hotel credits, travel credits, and more, which I use. So if you look at this, you get 3x more points when you go out to eat or streaming service or online groceries, 2x points on travel purchases, which is big for me. A ton of other stuff in these benefits that I'll show here, but I'm not going to read off. And I've literally gotten thousands of dollars back in cash back with this card for offsetting the $95 annual fee. And it makes sense in my situation because I'm traveling. I have to spend money on stuff like this. So it makes sense for me to go back and do these things. I mean, there's also a great benefit with this one for me is that the currency conversion has no transaction fees. And this helps me a lot because if I'm in another country, I don't have to pay to convert euros back to dollars or pesos to dollars. It helps me a lot with, booking flights, hotels, and more. And of course, I pay these off in full every month, in full. They will not make money off of me. I will make money off of them. That's my policy. And given the points increase and multiplier on this card, I get over $1,000 back per year just in points. I'm also considering a different one, the Chase Sapphire Reserved, which it actually has a $550 per year fee. And I know this sounds crazy, but take a look at this. You get a $300 travel credit, so that wipes off most of the cost of it anyways. And you get a ton of extra benefits, 10x points on travel in the portal. That's a lot. I mean, it would honestly could make sense for me to do this in my situation with traveling if I do more than a couple of large trips each year, which I do. So as you can see here, credit cards, they're a lot of math. It's really a money game. In your situation with the money you spend, what cards make sense for you to get as long as you're being responsible. It works for me because number one, I responsibly pay these off every month. And number two, I pay a lot on travel expenses. So these types of cards make sense for me. They may not make sense for you. To pay an annual fee, you have to do the math to see if your situation makes sense and you'll get more money for having that card. This is the importance of just knowing where your dollars are going. You got to have a plan, know what you're spending money on. If you have trips planned, you spend a significant money on streaming services, online groceries, or eating out, you got to consider these options to maximize your money. Maximizing your cash is just the main benefit of kind of what I've talked about so far, but there's another one here, and that's that you need to build credit, because the credit score, although it's an imperfect system, it measures if someone can pay back money they're owed on time. Lots of stuff goes into it, length of time that you've had your credit open, history of late payments, recent hard inquiries, just people checking your credit. If you have a good credit score, you're a little more trusted financially in society. You get lower rates on mortgages, other debt because you're deemed as less risky to the lender. So if you have a good credit score, you end up paying less money in the long term. You do need a good FICO score as an American. It's really a myth that you need to take on huge loans to get a high FICO score. I've never had a huge credit card balance or a huge loan or anything like that. And my score is almost 800 just from these credit cards I've had, these 2 credit cards. And this is mostly because I've had these for a long period of time, and I've been paying my minor credit card bills, and therefore my score has just slowly gone up over time. Some jobs even check your FICO score, and while I understand that some people think that's dumb or unnecessary, think about this from their perspective. If I'm an employer, I want someone who's responsible and trustworthy. And if I see someone has a bad credit history, I'm not talking one slip up, I'm talking a history of owing people money and late payments and debt, they're not being responsible. And how, if they can't even be trusted with their own life and finances and their own money, how can I trust them when I need to count on them for my team? I've been on these interview panels and seen decisions like this made, and overall I agree that trust and responsibility are important, and this is just one way to check. So don't want to have people on your team you can't trust. That's just another thing to consider why you need a good credit score. So just final thoughts. Credit cards are not for everyone, but if you use them responsibly, they can put extra cash in your pocket and help you build a financial future. So let me know in the comments what strategies work for you. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer an email or even have an option to book a call with me and see if I can help you out for your situation. So hope you enjoyed this. Hit like and subscribe for more content, and we'll catch you in the next one.